I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.
As the Sacramento region continues its rediscovery of our agricultural heritage, entrepreneurs are creating products that connect today's taste with yesterday's traditions. Nowhere is that more true than with beer. Sacramento was once known as the Milwaukee of the West, with the largest brewery west of the Mississippi. One brewer, Captain Frank Rustaller, learned his trade at the various breweries and eventually owned City Brewery. Now, entrepreneur J.E. Payno has brought that tradition back with Rustaller Brewery. Rustaller is one of the great local brews putting Sacramento back on the beer map. He's joined today by Sean McNamara, a local farmer whose hops give Rustaller its unique flavor. So gentlemen, what is farm to pint?
You know, for our general impression of beer is that beer always has to be the same. If you have a Budweiser, say a Bud Light, in 1985, it's going to taste the same as 1995, as 2005. But these products are using natural ingredients. And you know, in almost every other category of food, if you think wine or cheese or those vegetables, you expect some variation based on the ingredients. If you use the cow eats someplace different, his beef or his milk's going to taste different. The wine, if the grapes are grown on one side of the mountain versus another, they're going to taste different. And so Farm to Pint says it's not just about a factory where the beer is brewed, but it's actually that brewery is a farm. And we're starting with natural ingredients, and then we use and actually try to express those in that pint glass. And so it's a partnership. It's a partnership between farmer and brewer to make a beer that is surprising, is an expression of a region, is unique and distinctive, and is kind of an experience. It's not just a beverage that we need to survive, but it's actually an experience.
You got anything to add to that, Sean?
For me, it's a process of reaching out to the consumer and educating them on the hops in one corner of my small field will taste different than the hops in the other corner of my small field.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll smell different to me within the same row, and that will be represented in the bottle, in the end product. I didn't know that before I started growing hops, and it was a revelation to me. So that embodies Farm to Pint.
So we have some hops here, right?
Uh-huh.
Tell me what you can tell about those hops from smelling them.
They're a bittering hop. There are aromatic varieties and bittering varieties. I grow a couple of each. These are definitely bitter, so they've got high acid content. It's something you'd see in your IPAs, your more hoppy beers. The beer we might sample today is more aromatic because the lion's share of the hops were of an aromatic variety. What else? They've been sitting in Jay's cooler for about a year.
We picked the,
No, go on.
Well, we picked these two almost 3 years ago at the beginning of kind of our thinking and really kind of digging into the heritage of Rustaller. And these hops were actually, we picked these, me and my two business partners picked them at Julie Signorati's house down in Elk Grove. And she had 13 rye zones that she had as landscaping. And those rye zones she had picked from her father's ranch, George and Virginia Signorati's hop ranch in Slough House, which if you drive out Highway 16 towards Amador, Davis Farms on the north side of the street, and on the south side are these two wooden silos, or they're actually hop kilns. And that was the last commercial hop ranch in California. And so these are actually quite historic. These are California common hops, which was the traditional hop that made Sacramento really kind of the epicenter of the hop growing region in the world.
Well, let's go back to that history. Give us kind of a sense of how Sacramento got to be the Milwaukee of the West, and then what happened?
Well, what happened was the government came, took the best thing Sacramento had, killed it, and replaced it with itself. Prohibition. So what happens easy. How we became it is almost, it's a better story.
Well, come on with it.
It's really kind of what we naturally were. You know, we had hops and barley grew like weeds. I mean, this naturally grew along the riverbeds of the American River, river banks of the American River. We had a great source of water, being the American River, flowing out of the Sierras, so it was filtered through the bedrock all the way down, as opposed to the Sacramento River, which was full of silt and sand. We were Germans, Austrians, and Swiss, so we knew what to do with these three ingredients, make beer. We could easily load barrels of beer on a barge, and it would float out to sea, basically downhill, down the Sacramento River and the Delta. And then the train ended here. Transcontinental Railroad ended in Sacramento, so now we could ship and distribute beer even farther. And then when the refrigerated rail car came, it just blew Sacramento up. Because now we uniquely were positioned on the entire West Coast to harvest and store ice in the wintertime, use it and to brew and distribute fresh beer all throughout the summer. And there was no other city on the entire West Coast that had that trifecta, or all those attributes at the same time.
And you tell a story that the local brewers in the city at one point came together, and that's how we really had the largest brewery.
Well, and they kind of skated to where the puck was. They saw the opportunity with the refrigerated rail car and the railroad, with the hops and the water. And they also realized that beer making is kind of an economies of scale. There were, you mentioned that Rustaller had a brewery called City Brewery. Well, that was the brewery when he first moved to Sacramento, he got a job as a delivery guy, worked his way up to foreman, ended up buying the brewery. And that was in the 1870s. And then in the 1880s, or late 1870s, a lot of the breweries in town, one being Rustaller City Brewery and several others, these guys each had their own malt house and bottle washer and, you know, keg cleaning equipment. And they said, you know, if we join forces, if we form, basically today we would call it a cooperative, we can be better off. And so they did that, and that brewery was called Buffalo Brewery.
And that's on the land that now the Sacramento Bee is located on 21st and Q?
Those three city blocks where the Sacramento Bee was formerly the Buffalo Brewery. And that was, Ed Carroll in his book says that's the largest brewing facility west of the Mississippi River. Not a big deal. But when you think and you look at a map, you say St. Louis, home of Anheuser-Busch, is west of the Mississippi River, not east, west. You realize we had a larger facility than anything even Anheuser-Busch did. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we didn't really have to strive for it. We didn't have to steal for it. We just were natural. It was natural. It was what we were. We were Germans, Austrians. We had the ingredients. We could naturally distribute it. And
doesn't that go a lot to something that you talk about, hey, we've got some good stuff here. It's not about trying to be something from someplace else.
Exactly. Well, Charlie Munger, one of the co-CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Midwesterner, he said in his biography that he left Omaha when he was a young man and went to Pasadena, California, believe it or not. And the reason the reason he made the move was he said Pasadena at the time was a place you could go to become somebody, not a place you had to be somebody to go to. And Sacramento was that way. That's why that's why Frank Rustaller came here, and that's why several people still come here, including myself. And it's a place you can go to become something. It's a place we can go to move the needle. It still hasn't reached its full potential. And part of it is the resources we have are so abundant. They're just everywhere. We just have to kind of look for them and celebrate them.
Right. And we talk about the abundant resources, and you talk about how on one corner of your field the hops will be different than on the other end of your field. It almost sounds, no offense, like, you know, the way that wine people talk about wine. And I mean, do people have a misimpression about beer?
I wouldn't say it's a misimpression. I think it's we all lack the understanding. We haven't been exposed to it yet. And per your question, beer hops do have the same sense of terroir that wine do. I can do side by side of the same beer, same ingredient, same batch size, same timing, same everything, and hops that are hops sourced from 90 miles apart, and the same beers will taste completely different. And Roostaller is doing this, and you can go to your grocery store and do this side by side like I do at home. And it's fascinating. The land I grow on is in an alluvial plain, so for thousands of years, our waterway, Pewter Creek, flooded into this plain, silting it up, creating this hotbed of nutrients. And it's natural that I have a diverse, you know, growing field, growing climate, growing conditions.
So
and that'll change year after year, because the 364 days between one harvest and another is going to be different. The weather's going to be different. What Sean does or doesn't do is going to be different. And, you know, the Germans and English, our impression of beer really comes from the Germans and the English, right? And their ideal of perfection is consistency. You know, think of a German car. They got to make that the different distance between two parts always has to be the same, consistent. The English, when it comes to accounting and politics, consistent generationally. And that comes out in their liquid of choice, beer. So, good beer is the same year after year after year. But the French, perfection to them is variation and expressing kind of different moments in time. And that comes out in their beverage of choice, wine. You know, the Belgians kind of take that celebration of variation, that romance, and put it in their beer. And so
which one most influences you?
Well, I think probably more the French, the romantic, of celebrating kind of a moment in time. You know, my family grows grapes, so I've seen that, what Sean says, that, you know, a grape on a 10 or 15 feet apart will taste different. You know, just because one's, you know, they're 5 feet elevation change, one gets 5 more minutes of sun every day. I mean, it matters. That connection between, you know, land, God, farmer, there's a connection there that is worth celebrating. And, you know, vintners and grape growers work hard to make great products. And I think that's kind of what Daryl Cordy, maybe we'll talk a little about that, challenged us to. And I think that's why Roostaller came here. I think that's what Sacramento was about, was this partnership.
What did Cordy challenge you on?
Well, what he said to us was, well, we had sold a fair amount of beer with him, and so through his store, and
Cordy Brothers in East Sacramento.
Cordy Brothers in East Sac. And so I hadn't met Daryl, although I'd heard about him, and I wanted to just kind of thank him. So I went to Rick Minderman, who's his kind of right-hand man, and Rick said, "Would you like to talk to Daryl?" And I said, I didn't really know what to say, but I said yes. And I went up to Daryl and said, "Thank you, you guys have been great and supportive." And Daryl said, "Well, you guys are the guys with the Roostaller on the bottle." I said, "Yes, sir." And "You say Sacramento on the bottle." I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, until you are growing local hops, you don't deserve either one of those names."
Wow. Wow.
And it was shortly thereafter where...
How'd you, before you go on, how'd you react to that? How'd that feel?
Well, I was
Tail between your legs.
Yeah, I was expecting kind of a big pat on my back. "Oh, you guys, your beer's great. You guys are doing a great job. Thanks for bringing, you know, some, making Sacramento proud again in the beer world." But, you know, it was a challenge. And that's, you know, one of the things that I've learned with Daryl is that makes him great is he's never satisfied, that he's always pushing the envelope. And that's why he's respected throughout the world as, you know, as a grocer, but as a world-renowned grocer who goes out and always looking for new products and trying to push the envelope. But he doesn't do that in an unnatural way. He does it in a very, well, let's Let's celebrate the best things from these regions of the world. And he knew that hops was one of the best things we had. And it was a challenge. And I like challenges. And so does someone else at the table. Well, I think all three of us may like challenges.
This is true. This is true. Sean, I wanted to ask you, you know, when this predates you, okay, but when I was growing up here in the 70s, we did everything we could in this town, in this whole region, to run away from our agricultural heritage. If there was a cornfield somewhere, we wanted to put concrete over the top of it, you know, because we didn't want to be known as a cow town. And now it's like we're the epicenter of this farm-to-table movement that you go to other places in the United States and they're trying to copy this region.
Yeah.
What's it like to be at the forefront of sort of what was so far out of style is now back in? It's kind of like Sinatra coming back. Or actually, I shouldn't say that. Who could I say? It'd be like Green Day coming back. I don't know.
Ray-Bans.
Ray-Bans.
Well, to be fair, I did the same you guys did. I tried to run away from it a bit too. You know, I've lived on a family farm for 25 years and spent 8 years of that on the East Coast and doing my own thing elsewhere until I felt the draw of the land on me and made my way back. It feels great to be at the forefront of this because for some weird reason farming is cool again. I think it might be a little bit stylized or romanticized because there are many uncool aspects of farming.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. It's stressful. There's you know, there's a bottom line to keep up and a loan to pay off every year. But I think people more and more are seeking a connection to the land, and there certainly is connection in land to see the process year after year of things growing, see the actual fruits of one's labor is powerful. And
what do you love about it?
Oh, not the hours. I love the consistency of plants, to be honest. I love hops are incredibly volatile. They need lots of love and care and management and oversight, but they are consistent. They will come up year after year. They will grow 18 feet year after year. They will die in the fall and come back in the spring. And that's just one crop, but I'm surrounded by 200 crops all around me that are doing the same thing. They have their own timing, their own beauty, their own nature, and they're consistent in it, whereas everything else in our lives is seemingly inconsistent.
Well, I'm consistent because whenever I have folks on the show and they have anything to do with food or wine, we have to taste some of it. And so I know that we got a few things here. And you've got a bottle opener on you?
I've got a bottle
All right,
opener,
well, let's go for it. And while J.E. is doing that, in terms of, what did you do before you came back? What were you doing when you went far away?
I was in school for 4 years, studying history and urban planning of all things.
Really?
Yeah, which might be a side conversation, but I think there's a lot of urban planning in rural life. And then I worked in construction for a year or 2 years in Baltimore before I came back here to actually continue working as a design builder and contractor.
Okay, all right. So we've got this, what is this one called?
This is called Hop Sack.
Hop Sack.
2012 vintage.
Okay.
And we call this one Blue Heron Hop Yard.
And Blue Heron is the name of Sean's farm. Okay.
So this is capturing Sean's hops at a moment in time. We picked these on a Friday morning in August at 5:30 in the morning. We put the call out the night before on Facebook, and 15 volunteers showed up, and then we
the rest is magic.
the rest is magic.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, gentlemen. All right. Oh, that's good. That is really good.
Yeah.
Wow. It must give you a lot of pride when somebody tastes your beer for the first time. They go, man, that is really something.
It does. I mean, this this Roostaller 2.0, if you will, is really not. You know, I've chosen because someone had to kind of stand up on a table and talk on its behalf, but there's an entire team that behind it, starting with Charlie Bamforth at UC Davis.
Now this is guys like the Pope of beer or something like that, or was it?
Pope of Foam.
The Pope of Foam.
Pope of Foam. And he's also considered the brewmaster general by Playboy magazine, October of 2010. I've verified that.
That's not a bad title to have.
Not a bad title to have. So you know, UC Davis is known for its viticulture and all its wine program, but what actually Charlie is the most renowned brewmaster in the United States for sure.
And we've got him here locally.
And he's here locally. So we've lost the title of kind of beer capital of the West Coast, but we're the beer educational capital of the United States. Easy.
Where's the beer capital of the West Coast now?
Portland.
Maybe Portland. San Diego is probably giving Portland a run for its money.
Yeah.
So.
Now, unlike a number of breweries, you don't have a physical location, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that in the future?
It's we talk about it every single day,
okay.
And we look at physical structures every single day. But I want to go back. You mentioned pride.
Yeah.
You know, so Charlie has been a great advisor. He helped us kind of put the brewing team together. We have a great distributor partner that helps move the product. Gives us a lot of Tony's Fine Foods, also a local company here that gives us a lot of latitude and freedom to be partners with then more partners, our retailers. And our restaurants. So it's all those guys kind of help enable us to do it. But the real success in this whole thing, Scott, for me, what gives me, and I haven't yet reached it yet, is for someone from Sacramento to take one of these bottles and take it down to LA or Portland or San Diego and to their buddies and say, hey, I want you to try my beer. And when they say my beer, they don't say it. They don't mean J.E.'s beer. They mean Sacramento's beer. This is the beer that it really embodies the ethos of Sacramento.
Well, actually, let's talk about that for a second, because one of the other things, and I don't know whether it applies to this or not, but in terms of it being my beer, you all have involved a lot of people in this. And so, for instance, I read that Pride Industries, which helps give jobs and training to the disabled, that you all struck a partnership with them, and they're actually responsible, at least on some of your products, of wrapping these.
They do it all.
They do it all, on this one too?
On that one too.
Okay.
Yeah. When we first came out with the beer, the purpose for the burlap is, it's really kind of a nod and homage to the farmer, because if you go out to the Signorati Ranch and Slough House, there's burlap everywhere. Because as they picked the hops off the vine, they would pack them into burlap sacks because the hops were still wet and they needed to breathe. So when we first came out in bottles, we did maybe 10 cases with burlap, with a little sliver of burlap on the top, and 10 without. And we waited to see what would happen. And it was me and my buddies that with the burlap. Well, the rest of the grocery stores we'd sent the bottles that had the burlap on, they called back a lot faster. So we said, uh-oh, we have a great thing, but we got a problem, because we'll be wrapping this till all the
cows come home.
Till the cows come home, right? And so fortunately, one of my friends recommended Pride, and we brought a bottle to them up in Roseville, their office, and said, "Is this something you'd be interested in doing, willing to do?" And they jumped on it, and I've never seen folks have more fun doing something, because the bottles are full of beer. They have to fill the bottle. So they're, acting like they're drinking and having a blast while they're...
So I got to ask you a question, because it doesn't surprise me that Pride, because Mike Ziegler is so entrepreneurial that he would be into something like this. So how many cases did he scratch off the top and say, you got to deliver for this deal?
I don't want to say that on the air, Scott, but I'll tell you later on.
We'll talk off air. We'll talk off air. Okay, so what's next? What else is going on? Just growing more hops? Is there anything you want to experiment with? J.E. and I were talking, and farmers will grow anything. I can do that. So what else would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
A priority for me is to cultivate and propagate the original hops that they grew here. So the California common hops, as they were called, sometimes referred to as the California clusters. I've got to find those. I don't think there are many around still, and start building up root systems and harvesting roots so I can plant in mass.
We will look forward to that. In our final minute, the question that everybody at home wants to know that's watching this is this. When you're not drinking Roostaller, okay, what do you drink? What do you drink? So come on, guys, fess up.
Oh,
I asked Margaret Mondavi this question. She was willing to go for it.
Okay.
So you guys have to step up now.
Sierra Nevada.
Okay.
I have about every Sierra Nevada beer. Local brewing town, Berryessa Brewing, is usually a growler of theirs. I like to try to support local as much as possible. And I think Sierra Nevada is a figurehead for brewing, in especially our region and throughout the country.
All right. J.E.?
Well, last night I had wine, and over the weekend I actually had a Miller Lite. So that, that's just kind of
You know
back,
what?
but
It's nice to know you're a man of the people, okay?
so
All right.
it's
And there you go.
yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Much success to you both. And we'll look forward to drinking more. Well, that's our show. And thanks to our guests, and thanks to you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Syfax. See you next time right here on KVIE.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.